Welcome to the B Sound podcast, where we discuss our challenges and successes in the creative realm with creative people. My name is Dan B, and today we have Ed Madison. Hey, Ed, thanks for coming to the show.
Hey, Dan.
Good to have you here. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Who are you and what do you do?
Well, first of all, I just wanted to say how honored I was to be asked to be on your podcast because, Dan, you've been on mine twice before. And even though I haven't really done anything lately, just because of COVID last year and, just life in general, it was so cool to hear from you and ask me on. So thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Oh, yeah. I appreciate you being here. It's like being on your podcast both times was really fantastic. And it's like I thought, who would be easy to do this podcast with, who's easy to talk with and stuff. And you came up and thought you'd be great for it.
Oh, yeah, I'm excited. So, and it's funny because when we did the podcast here at the house, we probably covered like all kinds of things with like video games and music, I'm sure, multiple times. And so I honestly, really, I feel like based on what I've seen and what you just said, this is about music centric more than anything, and possibly, or
it doesn't have to be music centric. Like I'll have some YouTubers on who create different kinds of content, that kind of thing. It's more just about the creative process and like the successes you've had with it or the challenges you have with it.
Perfect. Yeah, that'd be fun. We'll roll with it and see where it takes me, and I'll try not to embarrass myself. Okay.
Yeah. But sorry, I don't mean to interrupt.
No, you're fine. You're fine. I mean,
because like I know you're into other things like cars and your social media is like cars, guitars, and cigars.
Yeah.
So, any of those things are on the table.
Oh, okay. So it's kind of like where we're going to talk about. Well, before we get started, just so everybody's okay with it, nothing in my hands yet, but I did bring myself a drink. So we just finished dinner, and so if you're okay with it, I'm going to have a drink.
Yeah, that's cool. What is that? The Belvedere?
Balvenie 12 double wood, of course.
Oh, Balvenie.
Or Balvenie.
Okay.
I don't speak that dialect or anything, but I do know that they still haven't sponsored me for the podcast, and that's fine. I'm just going to keep drinking it anyway.
You could get one, though. You might get one. Just keep drinking it on air.
They were like, at one point, they're like, wow, our numbers really spiked for sales in the greater Quad Cities area. I don't know what happened.
It's Ed doing it all.
Yeah, exactly. So, okay. So my name's Ed Madison. The only way I know how to introduce myself is how I met you. So through music, I met Dan a while ago when we were doing it. I feel like it was a split or joint. No, not split, but it was multiple bands played a Halloween type show. Was it the Nirvomit?
Yeah, Nirvomit played.
So when we played that show the first time that I met you, I really didn't even talk because I was really intimidated by the fact that there's this gentleman up here with the bass who's rocking it like Chris. How do you pronounce his name again?
Novoselic, I guess. Novoselic. Whatever.
That sounds good to me. And then later on, I don't know if I creeped on like their social media or their Vomit or something like that, or I probably said hello at the gig too. Mm-hmm. To some degree and whatever, but. Yeah. I was so impressed by you to be able to pull off the Nirvana covers with the rest of the group and the loud drums, the Dave Grohl on the drums. And then I don't even know the other guy's name. What's his name? The guitar or singer?
Oh, Joe Finn plays guitar and sings just like Kurt.
Yeah, it's amazing. Right. And, the most memorable thing is just watching you guys play that and knowing that, you didn't have over the top like gear to show off or anything. It's like he had the guitar amp, right? It looked like it could be, I mean, no disrespect to this. I thought it was cool. Like it looked like a whole setup that was believable for like a Kurt Cobain. You know what I'm saying? And you had the bass and stuff like that. I don't know. What did Chris play back in the day? What was his main bass that he played?
Well, he did play a Thunderbird, which is what I play.
Of course.
But
was that his main one then? Thunderbird?
He had that and like a Gibson Ripper.
Oh yeah, the Ripper. Yeah. Okay. Was that the big fat bottom one that kind of had the little horns up top?
Yeah, it's like a huge fat bottom one. It's almost like a toilet seat shape or something.
It's like if an SG went on an eating binge for a month. and then it just gained a bunch of weight around the waist.
SG during COVID, right?
Yeah, exactly. Thankfully, I didn't balloon completely out of control. I gained a couple of pounds over the past year or so since you've seen me, but I'm still doing okay.
That's cool, man. I've been finding out Nirvana actually played a show last weekend, and it seems like I'm the only one who actually lost weight during COVID.
Oh, really? Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
I kind of was like, oh, I got to get healthy for this and be as healthy as possible. So I started losing weight and eating right and all this other stuff. Good
for you.
Thanks, man. Thanks. But yeah,
good for you.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, when I remember first seeing you and meeting you and like watching you and just amazed, I could tell you guys were good musicians, and all of you were. I just don't want to say you, because you put it together and make it work. So, and then later on down the line, I can't remember if I messaged you or not when I said about my podcast, possibly, like I was looking for people to have on.
Mm-hmm.
But I know, so Dan, everybody knows if you're watching this, maybe you don't, because Dan also does a lot with video games, and I've always been a video game nerd. So my other drink that I brought with me is a tumbler full of water, but it's actually got a bunch of Mario stuff on it too.
Ooh.
So me and my fiance, who you haven't met, I had matching ones made. So we took a big pack of stickers from Amazon, of Mario stickers, and we basically went through like, all right, what's our top 10 favorite from each, for each cup we were going to do. So I ended up with all these. My favorite is of course, I shouldn't say of course, but Tanuki. Anything Mario 3, I'm going to be a sucker for. So. But it's got some other good ones in here that mean a lot to me from different games too. So, but yeah, I know. So I appreciate Dan for his, the video game nerdy background, like I kind of have too. So, yeah. That's cool. I know you're a big gamer. I think last time, almost every time I message you over Instagram, it's like, what game are you playing this? It's like you got some new game you're playing or whatever, like Resident Evil recently. Correct. Yeah. So me and my fiance have been playing Resident Evil Village, and I was kind of telling you that I've kind of got my fiance into Resident Evil. She's a nerd too, but she has played a lot of other games, not just that I have played, but ones that I haven't played. So it was cool to give her something new to try. We started with Resident Evil 7, which is cool because it's like, the first person adaptation for a Resident Evil mainline story game, first person.
Yeah.
Right. And then we went back to the RE2 remake, which we may have talked about on my podcast, was like my first Resident Evil game that I played on N64 that my grandma bought for me, not knowing what the game was, because I knew that's like the only way I could get it back then, right? Was to sneak it in from old grandma. And I think that was I feel like it was at Video Games Etc. or something back then. I feel like it may have been Video Games Etc. They have one of those up your way. Remind me.
Oh yeah, they do. I used to work there for a couple of years.
I thought so, because we did. I now remember we talked about that on the podcast. I think it may have been the last time you were here too.
Mm-hmm.
So that's right. But I couldn't remember if there was one up in your area or not.
Yep. Yeah, there's one in Iowa City, and there's one in Cedar Rapids as well.
Cool. So got into Resident Evil 2 remake with the fiance. I had her play that. She loved it, right? She loved 7. She loved the second one. And then we got into, in my mind, I had to go 4 next, because 4 is like my second favorite of all time. I think it's just because it's a combination of the action that I love from other games that I've played in my life, but it also has the scary kind of horror survival stuff, which is really cool. But yeah, so I've been going through those, and we've been playing Resident Evil Village, playing through it a few times just to kind of get through and unlock a bunch of things, right? Playing on the hardest difficulty, et cetera, et cetera. So if we could talk about challenges and things like you had mentioned in the beginning, it's like getting through games sometimes. I'm not as young as I used to be, but I can still hack it, no big deal.
Yeah.
It's not like these games are, the first Ninja Turtles Nintendo game we talked about, or even like the dreaded Superman game that was, I always think about that as being a turd, or something that's so difficult to get through.
Yeah, the Superman 60.
That's a challenge.
For sure. I mean, those old games were supposed to be like that, though. It's like the old games were, but they were more about repetition, like trying to memorize things and get through things that were difficult over and over and over again. Whereas new games are like, let's move along the story as much as we can and, have a few difficult parts. I think that's the big difference between games now and then.
I agree. The nice thing is that today there are difficulty settings, which, think back in the day, what was a game that had difficulty settings that you could pick from that was a really good, like on NES, for instance, was there a game that had, you could play through it a second time in a harder difficulty? I don't think there was there?
There were some that had like the game plus, like you'd beat the game and it'd be like, now play the real game. Something like Ghosts and Goblins would do that. You'd get to the end and be like, if you want to see the real ending, go through it again. And it gets way harder.
Okay. I did not know that. I think back to I don't know if you ever played Double Dragon series or like Double Dragon 2.
Oh, yeah.
Was always my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
And where it had A and B for I feel like it was storyline or something, because it didn't necessarily make it harder, but it made it so you would play past a certain point to get to the end. Like if I remember correctly. I don't know if you remember that or not too.
Kind of. I remember there being different types of games, but I didn't really explore that maybe.
There was player 1, player 2, and there was player 1, player 2, like B mode, which was basically in the A version of 1 and 2, or of 2 players, you couldn't cause damage to your friend.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, but in B mode, though,
yeah,
you'd be uppercutting all day long, all night long, and pissing off your sibling or whatever, or your brother or sister,
Right, yeah, you'd throw an enemy and it'd land on your friend and they'd die. They'd fall in the pit or something and you get yelled at, that kind of thing.
Exactly. So, yeah, that's, I don't really, besides the Ghost and Goblin one that I'll have to look up, I really don't remember there being the challenges of the next level. So, and that takes us to, we talk about it, other things like audio. I know you're huge into knowing a lot with audio. You went to the master class recording, or I apologize, Mixed Masters. What was it called?
Mix of the Masters with Steve Albini.
That's right. Awesome, right? I think that's so cool to hear that story from you on my podcast. And then I watched a little bit too of the first episode of your audio podcast.
Yeah.
And it's so cool just to know somebody like that. Yeah, I know Steve Albini. No big deal. Just right. Call him up for mixing techniques, or what microphone should I use on this project? No, I'm just kidding.
He's actually pretty accessible. He told me on the side, he was like, I never say no to these things. If anybody has a podcast, I can't say no. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
Well, and then so like music and audio. So earlier, before, I don't think we were recording yet, I was telling you, I've got thousands of dollars of equipment I could possibly use in this office I'm in, not just for like microphones and audio and all that, but, guitars and stuff in the background. And I couldn't figure out, because I was, last minute trying to cram in, oh my God, how do I get the SMB or SM7B to plug into my cloud lifter that I can then plug into my Focusrite that I can get to go through the computer so I can talk to Dan and not sound terrible. So I can't quite hear it. I can, but I can't. I'm assuming that there's some echo. I apologize if there is.
There's a little bit of echo, but I don't think it's going to be an issue.
Okay.
Right. Are you speaking through like a camera microphone kind of thing?
It's just the microphone that's on my Logitech Brio. I seriously tried to last minute figure something out. I just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
I failed.
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good.
I'm here though. I literally just got done making dinner for me and my youngest boy who's here, and slammed that down. I'm like, I got to go figure out how to do this really quick before 7:30. So thank you for making it 7:30 instead of 6:30 or something. Oh
no, it's all good. I just appreciate you being here. It's good to have you here. So
yeah. But yeah, anyway, so there's audio challenges all the time. So for me, that's my challenge. What has been your recent challenges? What have you been mixing? What have you been working on that has been fun for you? And maybe a challenge, a fun challenge, right? Is there ever anything in audio that gets you angry, challenged?
Let's see here. Anything in audio that gets me angry. I'm a hard person to anger, first of all. But I don't know. I love challenging myself in audio. So it's like when I come up against a challenge, it's like, oh, yes, there's something I don't know how to do. Let's figure this out. And I will take my time. I'll do whatever it takes to get that thing. Like the other day, okay, so I got a new song. I'm doing this thing where every month I come out with a new song, a single of the month. And I'm writing the song. And like you, I'm at the last minute. I'm like, okay, I got to get this song out today. And I'm writing it, and I want to do this opening where I have this like swishy sound, and I've heard it in a few other songs. I'm like, how do they do this swishy sound? And I was looking up tutorials and stuff. I couldn't find anything on it. So finally I just was like, all right, I'm going to take this sound of a drum reverb, stretch it out as far as possible, slow it down, turn it backwards, and see what that does and then put it through a phaser. And it gave me that swishy sound I was looking for.
Awesome.
So, but like, yeah, it's like that kind of stuff where it's like, you've got to challenge your brain enough to, how am I going to do this? And then get it going and do it.
So when is that song coming out?
Well, it came out yesterday, but it's all, see, I have this thing for subscribers where you subscribe to me and you get a song a month. And then at the end of the year, the album will come out for everybody.
Oh, cool. I think that's really cool. I've seen other YouTubers do stuff like that before too.
Yeah.
And it's just a missed opportunity for me to go, and you can see the link down below, like I always do on my podcast.
Right.
That's cool though. All right. So that's a pretty cool example. I mean, how long did it take before that snapped in your head and it's like, oh yeah, maybe I should try this? Like, did you do a bunch of other things before that point?
Yeah, I did do a bunch of other things before that point. I was trying I knew I wanted phaser on it, right? But sometimes I try flange. I try all these different things with just different sounds. Like,
right.
What if I just put a guitar noise through there? Feedback. Nope, that's not working the way I want it to. So I tried maybe 10 things before I finally came up with what I needed to come up with.
That's cool. And phaser, who doesn't love phaser? I mean, come on now. Throw a little phase on there and you're having a good time. I mean, flange is like the dirty cousin almost, right? Or
it is.
That's probably not fair.
I can see where you're coming from, because phaser's like the smooth, sweepy sounding thing. And, and then phaser's like, wow, 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 wow. I'm adding like a wah wah to it, so I don't know.
Exactly. So what's really fun is adding like an expression pedal to a effect where it has parameters where you can adjust it on the fly, which is really fun. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's really fun, and sometimes it just sounds, it's like you can do it in my mind. I think that's why for me, and we probably talked about this before, I've never been a huge like in-depth effects guy. I appreciate effects and I love to have them at my disposal, but I hardly use them the way I should, which is my shame on me for getting into that territory without fully exploring it, but also never really having the balls to use it in a live music setting like I should too, because I get, anxiety or whatever it is to try that. And then you're going to miss that pedal stomp, position, or my MIDI switch or my switcher, I'm going to miss it or not hit it at the right time. And then I've got this pressure on myself to make it sound as smooth and perfect as possible. So I just would rather not, deal with it sometimes. Have you ever had an opportunity where you've used it and it has screwed up? Yeah. So it's funny if you think about when you play music, and when you started, which I know it was like, and we went through this before, and I could rewatch my podcast to kind of gather a little bit. I watched part of one of your things today too about the church scenario where your first band or something, right? Like that. Uh-huh. It was making me remember. That inspired me to remember my first band, my first cover band in a full band setting, not just me and another guy acoustically, but like a full band. It was in Keysburg, Illinois. And this, I guess technically it wasn't my first cover band, but it was the first cover band I was in where we had a lot of shows. It wasn't just a one and done kind of thing. And we were a cover band, and it was Theory of a Dead Man, Bad Girlfriend, right? Mm-hmm. Back then it was new, right? Like back then it was fresher. Sure. And I biffed the solo. I can think about times in my life playing live music. The only parts that really bother me are the ones that I can remember where I biffed the solo on it. And most people will say, well, nobody heard it, right? Nobody caught it because everybody's not paying attention, or not everybody's a musician. Or I shouldn't call myself a musician. I'm just like a weekend warrior kind of guy. But I will never forget those moments. That Theory of a Dead Man solo. Another one actually was Praised by Seven Dust. I remember, and the praise solo is so easy. I don't know if you know that song or not, by Seven Dust. I've heard it. Yeah, it's just super easy. It's like an octave, you're playing the notes in an octave chord, basically plucked out really slowly, and then it changes. I can't remember how it changes, but it's like 4 notes, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's like where I was so overly confident that I messed up because it's, you're skipping a string to get to the next note and stuff like that. So if I could think of challenges, it's always been on guitar solos because I'm more of a rhythm player instead of a lead player, I guess is what I'm saying.
Sure. So did that lead you to like things that were better, like to overcome that challenge of biffing solos? Because I've been there too. It's like, so how does that lead you to overcome that? Like, what do you do to keep on going?
So I had redemption later on because, it's like, most of the time in the cover bands I've been in, Dan, it's been a one guitar effort. Mm-hmm. I've been into guitar bands. Funny enough, that Praise song by Seven Dust, I was the lead guitar player, but it's funny because that day when I messed that Praise solo up, I fucking nailed, like, there was like Trivium in Waves that I nailed. Even there was a cover, the song Sail. Who did that cover that we did?
I don't know the song.
Anyway, what I'm trying to say is I did really well that day besides that one, but I will never forget what I fucked up, pardon my language, rather than all the other great ones that were difficult that I did. Later on, what redeemed it for me was a gig that I had where I played the solo for Y Part 2, which is a Collective Soul song. Mm-hmm. If you've ever heard of that before. I'm sure you've heard of Collective Soul, but Y Part 2.
Yeah. And
that is a awesome wah solo because it's that was back when I'm gonna forget all about it, Dan, but the guy who was responsible for all the heaviest hitting rock and Collective Soul songs before he got caught cheating with Ed Roland's wife and then he got kicked out.
Oh, I don't know about this scandal.
Oh my gosh, I gotta Google this. Hold on a second. Scandalous. Wow. Collective Soul, guitar player, guitarist. So I nailed this solo though, and I remember somebody out in the crowd who actually I knew who was a musician said, "I can tell you've really been getting better because I just like nailed it or whatever." And that meant a lot to me to hear it from somebody who you could tell he meant it. Ross Childress, that's who it was. Ross Childress was the original guitar player who was really responsible for all the hard rock riffs for the most part in Collective Soul.
Okay.
Yeah, but that was one of his solos. And the music video, if you haven't seen it, for Y Part 2 is pretty cool. It's like a total 90s, late 90s, early 2000s deal where it's like how everybody's dressed and it's a pool party and, they're just rocking around the pool with everybody and, that kind of vibe. But yeah, so I've had redemption. But it's still, I'm such a perfectionist in some ways that it will always probably bother me to some degree. But you can't let it, ruin your life when you step up to play that solo, right? Right. So how about for you?
What about me? Like, what are you asking?
Have you ever had a situation? I know we all have probably, people that play music live. You're going to have a little mistake here and there. But did you ever have a situation? And I'm not trying to pin you down in a negative scenario.
Oh, no, it's all good.
Do you ever remember having a situation where you're like, crap? Or, that may not...
Every show, probably.
Every show, yeah, right.
I mean, this last show I played with Nirvomit, granted, we hadn't practiced in over a year. And we kind of got called up to do this show. And they were like, hey, show in 3 weeks. Can you do it? And we're like, well, we can get 3 or 4 practices in before then. Sure. Let's try it. And I was pretty confident, got back on the horse and it seemed like, oh, yeah, I know these songs, muscle memory and all that. Get to the gig and it's like the one song that I think, oh, I know this, but like the back of my hand, I screwed up, I don't know, 10 times in that song. I don't know if anybody even noticed, but. Yeah, I forget which song it was, maybe Lithium or something like that, where I was confident that I knew it. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh crap, I don't remember this part. And I just biffed it. Yeah. But I don't think anybody cared.
Right. Exactly. And that's like I said, somebody told me before, it's like, nobody's going to notice. It's like, I know. But for me, I'm the kind of person that I always try to strive for a little bit better. like with this Zoom call, I'm definitely going to strive a little bit better next time and try to get here, or set up the night before better. So that way I can try to use some better gear,
Yeah, yeah.
So that way Dan later is not like, oh, I got to edit out all this echoing. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
It's not that serious, man. I will probably edit out the echoing, though. No, I'm
I don't blame you.
I got nice tools for a reason, man.
No, exactly. And I remember asking you, probably after the first time you were on the podcast, I think it was the SM7Bs I was having some kind of issue with, and I was trying to figure out how to take it out in post. Like it was some kind of, I don't know if it was an echo or it was like I could hear the audio from the other microphone or something bleeding over or something like that. I think what it came down to, I ended up sorting out, was like a gain situation with the microphones.
Okay.
Where the other, they were basically picking up, or that microphone across the desk was picking me up because I get loud, especially if I do one of these, so. But yeah, either way, I've appreciated your tips and your insights in the past, which means a lot.
Oh, cool. I'm glad they helped you out. I mean, that's kind of what I feel I'm here for, is to pass down knowledge. One of the things, like Steve Albini, editing that Steve Albini thing, one of the things he talked about was he felt it was incumbent on him to pass down the knowledge he's learned from people who passed it down to him. Because he learned from some great people that were in the industry for a long time. He had some great mentors.
Sure.
And it's like, so yeah, why not pass that down to whoever needs that information? We got to keep the tradition going. So.
Absolutely. I mean, because if you don't pass it down, I mean, it's in books, but how much better is it, you have to admit, to have somebody tell you in person, like that class you went to,
well, yeah.
instead of trying to read about it or, like watch a video about it, trying to figure out how to do something.
Yeah, I think mentors are essentially important. Not like essential, but pretty important to have somebody in your life that can mentor you on something.
Exactly.
Yeah. You have any mentors? Anybody who mentored you, like in playing guitar? Or,
well, I mean, it's like I know I had lessons, and I could look at him as a mentor. But when I started playing guitar, it wasn't because I was influenced by a mentor, like a close figure, like a family or a father or anything like that. Mm-hmm. I would have to say, I don't know if I really had a mentor. I almost felt like, and this is going to sound really big-headed of me, I felt that a lot of people that I was around that played music, they didn't do what I wanted to do. I wasn't getting out of anybody what I wanted to get out of it, which I wanted to get out of it a different style, a different genre that at the time I felt like nobody else was into. And like I probably told you this before, not to repeat anything for this podcast, but when I started playing in bands, or when I was playing guitar out of high school, or when I was 21 and older, when I could drink, I remember going to bars and being like, I'm sick and fucking tired of hearing all the 70s and 80s stuff all the time. Like, I don't listen to any of this. My growing up, my dad or stepmom listened to that kind of stuff. And I respect some of it, but some of it I just could not stand.
Right.
So for me, I didn't have any direct mentors that I was looking at, that I was talking to, that were influencing me or helping guide me with the right style of playing either. So I just kind of selfishly played on my own a lot. I didn't really even ask anybody else because I didn't know anybody. I had one person, if he ever watches this, I hope he does, Barry Lefebvre. He was the drummer in the first band that I talked about earlier. Mm-hmm. So he was that drummer. He started playing guitar. I don't want to say it's because of me, but because I play guitar, we did a lot together. It wasn't really him mentoring me as much as was me having somebody to feed off of that desire to play the same kind of music.
Yeah.
Even though he wasn't really teaching me anything, I was still driven by how he was enjoying it just as much as I was, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. I think it's important to have surround yourself with people with similar goals and people who believe in you. And
100%. 100%. So you live, I know you haven't lived in Iowa City your whole life, because I remember that from the podcast, and I can't remember where exactly. It was Chicago area?
Yeah, I'm from Chicago area originally.
Okay, you don't have to say where it is. I felt like it was Chicago. So I feel like the nice thing is if you're in Iowa City or Chicago area and you're playing music, you got so many more people you can hopefully catch by chance at a show, or an open mic night or whatever the situation might be. I feel like the Quad Cities has always just been kind of the same thing. It's just been kind of stale, and the same guys who have always played that 70s and 80s stuff, they're still around, but there's nobody new. There's like nobody new out there. There's a couple, but there's not like the kind of people that I would want to go out and watch and associate with, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think so. That's one of the things I find important is like finding your tribe, right? Like finding your kind of people. Yep. And that can be really tough. I still look all the time. And I don't know if you are, but it's...
Well, I almost gave up. Dan, is depressing as that sounds. And it's not like I can't find people. I mean, I know people like you that I've, done podcasts with and we've done shows together with. I think that's cool because I like the music that you have covered. You do your original stuff, which is more than most people can say they can do. On a creative level, you're way out there. You're way above and beyond. And that's not a plug for you or this channel. This is just saying it's pretty obvious, right? But there's not a whole lot of people like that I've ever felt like I could just talk to on a whim like this either. You know what I'm saying? I've kind of, with my podcast, I've picked people based on my comfort level or how I feel towards their creativeness or the people they are, if that makes sense. And that's why you were on it a couple of times, which is, you're not the only one who's been on a couple of times, but I think it's cool that I had you on a couple of times because there's so much we can talk about for music, video games, and I didn't even know about some of the video game stuff and all the other details, but it's just cool to, I don't have a huge network like you just said, right? Mm-hmm. And I think I've kind of gave up in my older years. I say older, but I know you're kind of closer to my age too. I'm like late 30s. It's like I work all the time and stuff. I don't have the energy, I guess, right? It's like I get home from work. I got to make dinner for the family. I look at the rack in the back room over here in my office. I think, that looks good. All right, I'm going to go out to the couch and play Resident Evil.
I've been there too. I know the feeling. So are you not doing any music or anything right now? I mean, I know a lot of people aren't because of, it's barely just getting back to where you can.
Exactly. So I had 2 shows this year. One was a solo acoustic in Columbus Junction, and one was with Mike Oshner, the singer of Blackout, the other band that I've been in forever. We did an acoustic duo in Wilton at Froze. But other than that, those 2 were asked of me and us. I haven't pursued anything. Like, it sounds like the same situation for Nirvana for the Foo Fighters tribute one, right? They just said, hey. And it's like, it's hard to turn it down when people ask you, especially if they're eager to. Right. I've also had to turn down a couple other shows as the full Blackout band with drummer and bass player because just not everybody was available. Mm-hmm. So I do miss live music. I do miss playing live music, but it's not to the point yet, Dan, where I feel like I need to pursue live music as a cover band artist kind of person. Mm-hmm. Now, live music to go see, I'm going to see Lamb of God, Megadeth, Trivium, In Flames, and who else was it in September? They got rescheduled from last year due to COVID. So I will get a chance to see that later this year. And my fiance just bought us tickets to see Atreyu, Tetrock, and there's a Crown the Empire. So we're going to go see them later this year too. Okay. Which is pretty cool. So we're, and that's because they're starting to let people back out again without masks. And I think in September, they said there's a federal release of, you don't necessarily have to wear masks. And I don't know, what is your opinion on the whole, and I know I talk a lot and you know this, but so let's back up first. Yeah. For you, mm-hmm. your stuff live, whether it's Nirvana or your other music endeavors, what's your urgency? Do you have any urgency? Yeah, you did the Foo Fighters thing, but what is your thoughts going forward now?
That show was kind of the catalyst for getting back on the horse. Like, I don't know if we would have got back on the horse and started practicing again if they wouldn't have asked us. Okay. But already, since then, we've taken another gig.
Oh, awesome.
So, yeah. it's like somebody was like, hey, my kid is graduating. Can you play our graduation party? We'll pay you. It's like a private thing. But we were like, sure, we're already practiced.
Why not?
Yeah, we'll do it. Why not? Exactly. So we're going to do that. And then I'm creating a new Bobobot album. Like, like I was talking about.
I was wondering if that was in the works. So.
Yeah, that's like the single of the month thing is going to become the new Bobobot album.
Cool.
Yeah, it's a cool thing. And
well, I'll tell you what, my youngest son actually is checked all that out. I don't know if I told you that before. So my youngest son is dug, definitely getting into all that stuff you've made, and your whole creative process, is captivating all kinds of audiences, not just, a singular one.
Oh, cool. That's very cool to hear.
Yep.
That show you were talking about that you're going to, the Megadeth and all those other folks, is that one show or is that
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. It's it was supposed to be last August, but then COVID, and then they just re-announced the new date. It's in Chicago at the amphitheater, where I've seen multiple bands there, including in my office. I have a Slipknot poster. I also saw Lamb of God there before too. And I've seen Deftones there and Incubus there. I can't remember what the city is off the top of my head, but it's that amphitheater in the Chicago area.
Okay.
It's in one of the suburbs. I can't remember which one it is, but
that's cool. I might go see Incubus this year. Basically because my favorite band is opening for Incubus.
Who's that?
My favorite current band is Poppy. I don't know if you've ever heard of Poppy.
No, I haven't. Wait, what? Go for it.
So Poppy is she started out as this pop. She was just like this pop girl, right? Except like her hook was she was like an android built for pop to do pop music. But she's since broke free from that android thing and has become a heavy metal, death metal girl. And the music is it's made for me. It's she'll go from pop to really heavy screamo stuff, and then back to a rock part, and
cool.
It just keeps going and going and going. It's pretty great. So
it sounds like the match made in heaven for Bobobot almost.
It kind of is. It's kind of an inspiration for it, actually.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. There's a song on the first Bobobot album called "Perfect Lover." And it's an answer to a song she did called "My Computer Boy."
Cool. So that brings a whole new meaning, because I listened to that whole album and thought it was cool, and I think my youngest heard it, and that's why he took off with it too.
Yeah.
And when I left earlier to go put a shirt on, so I was decent and all that kind of stuff. He asked if it was you that I was doing it with, so I'm sure he'll want to watch this too.
Awesome. Very cool. Hi. If you watch it.
Yeah, so new Bobobot's coming out. That's cool. Yep. And then so you've got that coming out, but you've got Mortar Vomit coming out. What's the rest of the year looking like for you then?
That's a good question. I don't know. The rest of the year is I kind of want to be doing this. I kind of want to do a lot of podcasts. The idea is to do one a week.
Oh, okay.
And get those going. And how about you? Are you going to go back into the podcast field anytime soon?
It's you're not the only person that's asked me that, and all the gear, it's all set up here still, just collecting dust. The last one I had was last year. I think it was last summer. I had as weird as it sounds, my mom's ex-husband, who married my mom after my dad divorced. They divorced, but he was actually technically, it's so funny, because if anybody was a mentor to me, it was probably him, because he played guitar growing up. Even though he played a lot of the older stuff my dad listened to as well, he also listened to Collective Soul, which got me into Collective Soul, which I felt like got me into newer guitar riffs that were more energetic, fun, and rock kind of in my mind, right? Mm-hmm. So, because at the time, I think when I was younger, the kind of music I was listening to was pop, maybe pop rock, whatever grandma and grandpa thought would be a good CD to get me for Christmas.
Yeah.
Right. Besides that, it's not like I had a lot of musical freedom. I was listening to, the only music I was really listening to before I could buy my own stuff was whatever dad and my stepmom were listening to.
Sure.
Which to a degree was cool, because the Unplugged in New York Nirvana one was one of those CDs. So in all fairness, that was part of the acoustic drive early on too for me, though.
Oh, awesome.
I feel like you're the same way, I'm sure. So you play guitar, obviously not just bass. It's almost like I could pick up a guitar and play About a Girl in a heartbeat, just based off of muscle memory.
Yeah.
Because it's like, it's a couple of chords and I mean, for the, just to get you going. And it's like, there's something about those types of songs from when they're stripped down from an artist like that is so, so good. It doesn't have to be technical. It doesn't have to be like when I go see Lamb of God, I'm going to be melting watching, Mark Morton play all those riffs on those songs. But it's not, it doesn't have to be that way all the time.
So it seems like the most relatable things are when it's easier to take in. So like the simplicity of those songs, of like a Nirvana song or, old folk music or whatever, those kind of things, the simplicity of it is actually what makes it easy to take in and more relatable to a mass audience than, say, something like Lamb of God, where it's very technical and you have to be very kind of nerdy or something. Not nerdy, but like it. When I say nerdy, I mean into that particular thing.
I mean, it's screaming. The vocals are screaming. So if you can get past, if you don't like that kind of vocals in the first place, you're not even going to give the rest of the music a chance anyway.
Right.
No matter how phenomenal Chris Adler was at drums, or no matter how many awesome riffs, Mark and, they put together as guitar players and that, I completely understand.
Yeah.
So,
well, there's like bands that are for musicians and then bands that are just kind of for everybody. Right. And like the more technical you are, the more musicians are probably going to like you.
Are you the same way as me? So I feel like my most beloved people that I think musicianship wise, I could never even touch, even though sure. I've sat down and tried a couple times. As lame as it sounds to some people who don't really understand, but like Mark Tremonti wasn't just a guitar player for Creed. He was, but also Mark Tremonti is one hell of a riff writer, musician, and the amount of stuff that he's wrote that I think is awesome, like with Alter Bridge and his solo stuff, and obviously, there's the Creed stuff, but it reminds me of like Lamb of God, right, Dan? So if you don't like the vocals, you just tune out the rest of it, right?
Sure. I get it.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I don't know. But yeah, getting back to that, it's funny you mentioned that we were talking about podcasts. I would like to do it again. I want to do it again with recently changed positions. I have a new job.
Okay.
So I've been busy with that. And then also, kids are always something with them. I've got a fiance now that I play a lot of Resident Evil games with, as we talked about earlier. Uh-huh. But the truth is, though, is that she saw both those live shows that I played this year and she liked them both. And I love playing live. So when I get up there, you probably felt it too, right? Even though we're always going to make some kind of mistake at every show, nobody's going to notice, but just being on stage is so much fun, and just getting reactions from people and seeing people's expressions, and whether it's them singing, you can see their lips moving, they're enjoying it too. Mm-hmm. I can only imagine having a Nirvana and Foo Fighters show like that. It's probably everybody singing, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a certain connection you get. I mean, I think that's why musicians do what they do, is looking for the connection with the audience.
Oh, yeah.
And when you actually get that, whether it's them singing or just even paying a lot of attention, it's like, you feel that connection, and that's what feeds you up on stage.
100%. It's like, I'll never forget a couple of times, not to take over again, the people, not just like the guitar solo that I told you that a fellow musician friend had saw it. It's like, man, I can tell you're really getting better because of that. But people that have came up to me and said, I've never heard or seen anybody play that. And it was so amazing. So, remember I said I started because I got tired of hearing the same thing over and over again, 70s and 80s covers, all the hair metal bullshit and pop 80s stuff that I cannot stand. And would that be like Jesse's Girl and all that stuff, right? Or was that 70s? Was Jesse's Girl 70s?
I think that's 80s, but I don't know.
You gone. Anyway, so it was Hurt by Nine Inch Nails, and he didn't come up and say Johnny Cash, because it was Nine Inch Nails cover we did a version of, where I was able to adapt the acoustic sound just like the piano part. And that took a lot of time to get that down. But I remember this guy come up and say, man, that was just like, you could see it in his face, right? And things like that drive you to be, again, learn that next difficult song that maybe that handful of people are going to appreciate more than the whole room, because that's what you're going to remember the most, in my opinion.
Sure, that makes sense. I know doing Nirvomit, it's hard to equate this to originals, because a lot of originals, people, they like them, but they're kind of like, they don't know them as well as, like, say, a Nirvana song.
Yeah, exactly.
But so, like, with Nirvana, I remember them asking, people would come up and be like, oh, play this rare B-side, play Aneurysm or play something like that.
Oh, yeah, right.
And it's like, okay, well, we don't know that one right now. But like we would learn those and come back and play them again, whether they're there or not. And it pushes you just a little bit more, like you were saying, and you want to do those things for that audience, because know the people will appreciate that.
Yes. And in my opinion, Dan, if I could have 10 people just never forget something that they saw with me, I would take that over 100 people that were just there just to be there, not even paying attention,
Right.
Because I don't know. That's just how I look at it. Maybe that's weird, but that's just how I feel.
No, I mean, that it makes a lot of sense. It's like, you want to engage with people. That's the reason you're there, is to engage and to make a difference. And if there's 100 people there that don't care, it's like, what am I doing here?
just background noise. Right?
Yeah.
Which is fine, because that's what, to some degree, bar owners, they'd rather have a band be background noise than driving people out of there.
Yes. Right.
So.
Right. But really what they want is them to engage so that they can sell more drinks and be engaged and have a good time.
Of course. Yes, exactly. But, it's some of the best parts about being in an acoustic version of a cover band or doing solo stuff is people also saying not just that they love the song, but it's like, man, I could just have a conversation. I didn't have to yell over the music just to have a conversation with my person that I'm with, right?
Right.
And that keeps people there too at the same time. So
True. Yeah, that's the problem at Nirvomit shows, is we dominate the.
Yes, I loved it. I loved it so much. It was so loud, and it was just like, I remember the cymbals. What's the drummer's name again? Your friend?
Oh, Adam. Well, he goes by Dick Boots.
Dick Boots, but Adam's his name.
Yeah.
Remember him just watching him with his hair and his like headbang and like hitting the cymbals, and he's hitting the crashes so hard they're like standing straight up on end almost.
Yeah.
Like almost comically, like it was set up to do it on purpose. It was hilarious, but it was awesome. It was an experience, because I will never forget that show and how impressive it was to see you guys do that, because other people, I'm sure, are there even any other Nirvana tributes within 150, 200 miles? Or
I think there's one in like Des Moines, maybe.
Is there?
Yeah. We've had a little competition sometimes, and it's fine. I don't care about that, but yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, it's like, you guys do an awesome job. So that's why.
Thanks.
I did see that you recently played. I didn't have a chance to get there. But where's your next one going to be at? When's that going to be?
Oh,
or is that a secret?
That's the one that I don't know. It's just somebody's party. That's the one I was telling you about. That's a party.
But when is that though?
It's in July, I think.
All right, I'll be there.
Yeah, you're gonna come to the graduation party.
Right. I'll bring like a card and stuff. Be like, yep, I'm here. Where do we drop the cards off at?
Cool. I mean, you can definitely come. I don't care. That'd be cool. It'd be cool to see you.
So all the music type stuff. Then there's like, you were mentioning earlier the challenges and things like that. Challenges are everywhere in life. I mean, I think they're good challenges when they're in hobbies and passions that you're really fond of. And I think that does drive us to be better in a good way, not in some people maybe in a negative way. Right. So, but I don't know. What do you think?
It just depends on your outlook. Really. It depends on your mindset. If you have a good mindset to approach a challenge and see it as something to either learn from or get through,
right,
then you can do it. I mean, besides that, I don't know what else you do with a challenge other than if you don't go that way, then you either just lay down and die or something. I don't know.
Right.
What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. It's tough. It's like, to some degree, it's fun to be able to grind stuff out and feel the sense of accomplishment, even though it's not for like a cover band or for, it's just, you know, I think the most satisfying ones I've ever had were probably ones I learned just to learn for myself.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why is because you know that the people out there probably won't recognize or appreciate it for the most part. You know, so I mean, just grinding stuff out here to do for the fun of it because I love a song. Like, what is a song that you can think of that you never? What's a song you never finished though? Like, what is a song you tried to learn but maybe life got in the way?
Like 90% of them that I try to learn.
Oh yeah, absolutely, me too. But I would just say, like, if you had one that you're like, oh, I wish I would have just stuck with it a little bit longer, because I feel like I have those too, a few of them.
Yeah. Well, what are yours? Give me an example of what you think.
So we were talking about Mark Tremonti earlier. His most iconic and very first big song with Alter Bridge was "Open Your Eyes," and the crazy thing is that song is in a tuning. It's in an open tuning, but it's in like some Mark Tremonti open tuning where it's based on like an open D or some shit like that, but it's got maybe a twist on it. And so the solo is completely unconventional, but it's completely Mark Tremonti and fast, right? And
Mm-hmm.
and it totally musically makes sense, but it's in a completely different tuning. I think I wish I would have followed through and kept trying to plug away and get that down, because it was just so, you know, the fingers, you're using all of them on that solo. And you're going so fast. Like I said, I've never been a lead player, Dan. I've always been more of a rhythm player,
Mm-hmm.
but I can play leads if I can have the time to grind them out. I wish I would have made time to grind that solo out, because I don't know. That was like a big one, just based on our conversations today. You know, I don't feel like there's ever. We talked about Collective Soul. I don't think there's ever been a Collective Soul solo that I felt that I couldn't sit through and play. The Theory of a Dead Man, you know, that was early on, right? That's inexperience. That's me just having so many jitters on a solo and just messing it up.
Yeah.
I don't know. What would be a song for you? That's like for me, that song, the solo makes sense, but what's something maybe for you that you wish you would have learned all the way through?
Well, early on, you kind of reminded me of something with your talking about the altered tunings. I had a friend that we were trying to do a band, and he was really into Soundgarden.
Oh yes, of course.
And
yes,
Soundgarden,
which song?
God, I don't remember which one, but it was like, not only was it altered tuning, but you had to put like 3 different high E strings on on the guitar and like 3 different low E strings to make the tuning work. And it's like, there's no way we're going to do this song.
Damn, Kim, his name was what? Like Kim Thiel or something
Kim
like
Thiel,
that?
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever. I'm like, how dare you and your guild SGs.
Right? With your crazy guitar, not only tunings, but string ups, like the way it's strung up. Yeah. And it was like, Soundgarden's a hard band to learn anyway. Like,
oh, yeah.
I mean, we learned like Fell on Black Days, and I didn't get the solo to that either. That's the type of thing I'm talking about. It's like 90% of the songs I'll get most of it, but then there's usually some kind of roadblock. So,
well, Fell on Black Days was drop D, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
I feel like The Day I Tried to Live and Pretty Noose, you know, those songs had the crazy tunings,
right,
if you will. But they were such great songs. How can people come up with such great riffs and great songs out of a tuning that's completely unconventional? It just blows my mind. And maybe it's because they have the time or the drive. You know, it's like, that's what they do. So I am determined I'm going to figure this out and make it work. Is that what it is? Or is it just natural? It's just like, boom, you know what? Musically, this makes sense. We're throw a couple of E strings on there, and then we're good to go.
Maybe. I know in my experience, when I try an alternate tuning and I want to write something, that alternate tuning in itself helps me write, because it's like getting a new guitar or something where since you're open to this new experience and you're like, hey, I play this different. This sounds different than any chord I've ever made. You kind of start putting things together and you end up writing something just purely out of the inspiration of having a different tuning and it's sounding a little different.
Yeah. Oh, I get it. I think that's cool too. And especially some of those open tunings that you can just So, and also too, I think about the lame, crazy tunings, and not that I'm going to fault them completely, but like Goo Goo Dolls, Iris. Iris is a song that I'll never forget because it was literally, Dan, a song that I bought a guitar for just to have, because I bought a cheap Washburn, like acoustic, and I thought, yep, I'm tired of trying to tune it's like B, E, right? It's like, it's so crazy. And I got tired of, breaking strings from going back and forth all the time. I just bought a cheap acoustic and left it in that tuning all the time. But I mean, something like that's not as, inspirational as much as like the Soundgarden or the Mark Tremonti open tunings where they're, I don't know.
So you're saying you keep that guitar in that tuning all the time because of that?
I
song?
did. I sold it actually because I realized that we got to the point where we weren't playing the song anymore. Like I've got enough instruments laying around the way it is. I'm like, be gone. So so it was like a $200 Washburn. It was cheap.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
It was not that nice. So
yeah, I've had a few of those where you just pick it up and you're like, this is going to be my open G tuning guitar or whatever. And
yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Or, for me, what I really want, Dan, more than anything, I have a baritone electric guitar. I want a baritone acoustic guitar.
Oh, interesting.
Because it would be, my fiance loves a lot of newer music like I do too. And a lot of it is drop B or, just even a whole step down D standard kind of stuff. It'd be nice to have a guitar that I could just navigate through those lower tunings without worrying about breaking strings or stressing the neck out, on my normal guitar. So
right. So baritone it has like one string lower, right? Is that basically?
So it's B to B is what it is. So it's technically instead of E to E, it'd be.
Oh, so the whole guitar is got lower strings.
Correct.
Okay.
So correct, and it's a longer scale length, and then it's also the strings are thicker, kind of like my baritone electric.
Okay. Yeah, I've actually never played a baritone, so.
Oh my God! Next time you're over, you should totally play it.
I would love to. I
mean, I don't play it; it's over there somewhere. But I don't know. No,
go ahead.
No, that'd be great if you ever came over for a podcast again, which I will do someday. I'll get that going again. But you are more than welcome to play one of my baritones. Absolutely.
Thank you. Yeah, I'd love to. I'd love to give it a shot. Yeah. Well, I don't want to keep you too long. We're almost out of time, but I have one final question here.
Yes.
This is what I always ask this at the end of all the podcasts. Is there anything I should have asked you, but I didn't?
That is a fantastic question. You are a fantastic host, a fantastic guest on my podcast, and I wish you nothing but the best for your musical genius, sir.
Oh, well, thank you, sir. Thank you. So that's your answer to the question?
I really can't think of anything right now.
Oh, right.
How about this? I'll text you later and just put it in this description down below, okay?
Oh, man. Well, thank you so much for being here, and I appreciate you. And we'll keep in touch, obviously. So
sounds good, Dan. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thank you very much. Take care, Ed.
Yep. See you guys.
Yep. Bye.
Bye.